CBS Sports NBA analyst John Gonzalez. And John, let's start with Tobias Harris. He finished with 30 points, including 17 in the second quarter, where they really turned the game around. This was a guy that, as you know all too well, dealt with a lot of criticism when he was with the Sixers. What was your reaction to his performance on Sunday?
Yeah, my reaction was the Sixers and Tobias Harris both playing big in Game 7s. Like, who would have thought? How did we get here? He's been fantastic. Games 5, 6, and 7, he really stepped it up. Beginning of the series, a little shaky, a little dicey for him, and he can be uneven, but he's the secondary scorer that the Pistons really need, and he's a big reason why they mounted this 3-1 comeback, because Cade Cunningham, you know what you're getting out of him. He's phenomenal. He top 5 MVP candidate, going to make first team All-NBA, but what the Pistons have lacked and what their critics have knocked them for is secondary scoring, shooting, and Tobias Harris has really provided that towards the back end of this series. And it's what the Magic lack, right? Because Paolo Banchero was without Franz Wagner, and you saw that to disastrous effect in Game 7 and certainly in Game 6 when they blew that lead. But yes, Tobias Harris stepped forward. He's a guy who, much maligned in previous stops for different reasons. I thought a little unfair at times, but he's been really good for the Pistons and a big reason why they're moving on.
Yeah, a big reason for that whole game momentum shift in the second quarter before halftime. Now, a 3-1 series comeback is a 3-1 series comeback. You can't take that away from Detroit, but it was against the 8th seed in the East. What's your view of this Pistons team, and do they have what it takes to represent the East in the finals?
Yeah, I've been stumping for the Pistons all season long, and I thought that they were going to do me dirty on this one, and they mounted that 3-1 comeback. But you're absolutely right. They probably shouldn't have had to work that hard against the Magic team that wasn't very good this season, that underperformed and underwhelmed all year long until they got into the play-in. When they beat the Hornets, then they started to look much better, and then they started out the series looking pretty good, and then the wheels absolutely came off in Game 6. But on the whole, the Pistons, they had a good season. I thought they should have made a move at the trade deadline to acquire more shooting and more secondary playmaking and scoring, but they decided to just kick the tires on this team and see what they had. Now, they were top 10 in both offense and defense, but they really play through their defense. And you saw that in this series where, they like to generate turnovers. They like to create points off of turnovers. They did that against the Magic in Game 7. They dominated the paint. They get everything in the paint. That's really where their offense lives. And then their outside shooting can be a little suspect. So moving forward, regardless of who they play, it's sort of like they got to just play their own game, right? Their style. And their style is be physical, play great defense, get points in the paint, dominate the glass, and then work from there. It's Cade Cunningham and then everybody else packing the paint. So we'll see whether or not that works for them. It worked for them in the regular season. It worked for them in the first round series, and now we'll see if it does in the second round as they move on.
I mean, if it's giving deja vu, that's granted, because you just saw that full screen, the 2003 Pistons-Magic matchup where the Pistons did it again. Now, how much will the Magic be kicking themselves in the coming days or probably weeks about blowing a 24-point lead in Game 6?
Yeah, I mean, they probably never stopped kicking themselves because it looked like they were, there was a hangover there in Game 7 from Game 6, because in Game 6, in the second half, it was disastrous, right? I mean, they missed 23 consecutive shots, which was a playoff record in real time where all the rest of us exist. They went 45 minutes without scoring a field goal, which is almost it's so unlikely that if you told them try to do that, I don't think that they could actually pull it off. And then it was also the largest blown playoff lead and a potential clincher in playoff history. So yes, they will absolutely be kicking themselves. Now, that said, they're not as good as the Pistons. They play very similarly, right? I mean, they also want to play through their defense. They're also offensively challenged. They also don't have many shooters. And so all of the things that they do, the Pistons do as well. They just do it better. And Paolo Banchero, I'll give him credit. I've been critical of that guy pretty much his entire career. He was one of the few Magic players who came to play in Game 7. And he got exactly no help. The problem is that the Pistons' number one player, Cade Cunningham, is better than Paolo Banchero, and he had some help. So there's a reason that they're not getting out of the first round. And they're going to go into this offseason thinking to themselves, was it such a good idea that we gave up 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane because he only took 10 shots in Game 7, in a critical Game 7? 5 of those were three-pointers. He only made 3, scored 16 points. That's just like a ho-hum line. So a lot of things for the Magic to think about going into the summer.
Yeah, a lot of things to think about, including what's next. What areas would you like to see them address over the offseason?
Well, unfortunately for Jamal Mosley, I think it's going to be Jamal Mosley because, like, going into the series, pretty much everybody anticipated that Jamal Mosley would be on the outs. His seat was super hot because they underachieved this season. I had them coming into the year as the third best team in the Eastern Conference. I thought they were really going to level up. That wasn't the case. Part of it was Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner having injury issues. Part of it was they asked so much of Desmond Bane, and it really took him a while to get going. Part of it was Jalen Suggs, awesome defensive player, just super, super uneven offensively, and then he was also injured too. So, you go and give up 4 first-round draft picks for Desmond Bane, and it's like now you've really limited yourself because you don't control your draft moving forward for the foreseeable future. Do Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner work together? Maybe they unplug one of them. I would say Paolo Banchero, maybe they dream up some kind of package where they could dangle him in front of the Bucks and maybe acquire Giannis. Everybody's going to be in on the Giannis sweepstakes if he becomes available this summer as anticipated. But yeah, the Magic forever, the problem with the Magic was good defensive team, not enough offense. They go on and get Desmond Bane thinking that's going to solve their problems. It didn't. So I think it might be time to break up Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. We'll see if they do that. But for sure, I think the scapegoat's going to end up being Jamal Mosley.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they work on that offense in the offseason. I do have one more question to ask you, John. Do you think the 76ers restricting the ticket sales to fans only in the greater Philly area for their series against the Knicks, how do you think that this is going to work out for them?
Probably not well. I mean, a lot of people are dining out on this and making it out like Philadelphia and the Sixers can't sell tickets to Sixers fans, like that they wouldn't pack the arena anyway. That's not the case. The case is, as we discussed off air, Knicks fans travel really well. They're kind of like locusts. They're just as invasive. They swarm where people would prefer that they don't. So this is sort of like a hedge against that. And they're not the only sports team, the Sixers, who have tried this. The Yankees have tried it. Football teams have tried it. Here in Los Angeles, the Chargers, famously, it's like a destination for visiting teams because the Chargers can't get fans to go out. That's not the case in Philadelphia. Sixers fans do turn out. They just know that they could potentially sell their tickets on the secondary market for a lot of money. Now, Joel Embiid came out and said, don't do that. That if you need money, he's got you. Now, I don't have Sixers tickets, but just to test this theory, Joel Embiid, I know you're a big CBS Sports HQ fan. If you want to send me some money just to see if the system works, I'll take it.
I don't think that there is a flaw in that plan whatsoever. I also really appreciate you calling Knicks fans locusts. I know you could have gone with something meaner as the true Philadelphia man inside you. So I appreciate that, John Gonzalez. Thank you so much.
I said what I said, Knicks fans.
The Sixers have lost each of their past 7 Eastern Conference semifinal series dating back to 2003. The last time Philly made it further was in 2001 when they lost to the Lakers in the NBA Finals. Game 1 against the Knicks is scheduled for Monday night from MSG.
The Knicks now heavily favored in this series at minus 275. And I was looking earlier this morning. The public is all over this. 70% of the market is backing the Knicks here. Even the analytics, including Sportsline, leaning to that side as well. John, I'm going to start with you. How are you going to play this series?
I was looking at the lines. Everything's a little juiced. I mean, Knicks minus 1.5 at minus 145 would probably be my play if I had to do something. We got to see the status of Embiid. He looked like he was banged up towards the end of that game. And just them beating the Celtics, just a bad matchup, right? Celtics cut costs, and it came back to bite him. Embiid comes back. I mean, come on, you have Jaylen Brown guarding Embiid. This next series is going to be different, right? You've got Mitchell Robinson. You've got Karl Towns. Is Jalen Brunson going to be able to defend? Tyrese Maxey, I think, is going to be the question. I'm sure they'll have to try to hide him, similar to like how Boston used to try to hide IT back in the day. I think the Knicks are going to have to start doing that with Maxey and those two guard Edgecombe. However, I do like the Knicks to win this series. I think the 76ers are they're valued a little higher than they should be because they just beat the Celtics. But the Celtics didn't have Tatum, and I think that really affected them this last game. So, yeah, Knicks minus 1.5, minus 145. Keep it simple, 4-2 type series, and Knicks go to the East Conference Finals.
I also think it probably goes a minimum of 6 games. I think the Knicks have showed they're susceptible to losing, some matchups here and there. And remember, they played 2 years ago in 2024. It was a little bit of a different Knicks roster. DiVincenzo and Hartenstein were still on the team. Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges were not. But that series went to 6 games. Tyrese Maxey had a brilliant Game 5. He had 46 in Madison